panel, the representative of UNCTAD here, Chantal, who's going to read out a short message of the Secretary General of UNCTAD. Chantal, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Nikhil, and good morning, everyone. It's such a heart feeling to see you all in this room to celebrate with us the third day of International Day for Women and Girls in Science, and to see so much interest and so much girls with us today. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of our Secretary General, Dr. Kituyi, of the UN Conference on Trade and Development, because we've been saying UNCTAD, but a lot of people don't know what UNCTAD is. So it's the UN Conference on Trade and Development based in Geneva. That's why my Secretary General cannot be here. He's most unfortunately not able to join today, but he would like to reiterate how pleased we are to have been able to be partnering with RACIT, with our Royal Highness Nisrin El-Hashemite, who I am proud to call a friend as well as our colleagues and ambassadors from Malta, Costa Rica, Hungary, and Vietnam. It is a real honor and pleasure, and we have collaborated very closely to put this very successful event together in commemoration of the Third International Day of Women and Girls in Science. For us at UNCTAD, strengthening the abilities of countries to leverage science, technology, and innovation for the achievement of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development is an essential element of our mission as a development agency. UNCTAD is the focal point in the UN for the integrated treatment of trade and interrelated issues of finance, investment, and technology for development, thus our interests. We also provide a substantive backstopping to the UN Commission on Science and Technology for Development, whereas the Princess mentioned this morning, our government are deciding on policies for the science and technology innovation ministries back in countries to move forward on these agenda. As such, we make it a central point of our policy message to government and to the international community at large that success in harnessing science and technology for development will depend critically on success on bringing more women and girls in science, particularly but not only in developing countries, and focusing more and more science on their specific concerns and needs. And I'm very delighted that, as you've heard now, the youth panel, the young girl panel tomorrow will be putting together recommendation, and their voice will be brought to the Commission on Science and Technology in May and put into the mix of the recommendation for our policymakers on how to advance what type of skills young girls need to succeed in the digital world that we're living in. Understanding fully and addressing the gender dimension of science and technology should be a priority for those interested in making progress on Agenda 2030 through STI strategies. By applying a gender lens to different aspects of a story, one can consider obvious voices, but also the voices that are often missing, such as when we do pharmaceutical testing on women, toxicology, you have different impact on women, so you have to invite women at the table and into the decision-making. Applying a gender lens to science also to address the problem in climate change is also important because women get affected differently from climate change than men do. So what we are doing in terms of the work at UNCTAD is to look at it from 3 points of view and 3 entry points. One is science for women, which is about developing science and technology which supports women's development and livelihood activities, especially in developing countries. Women in science, which concern promoting gender equality in science and technology, which we're talking about here, and engineering, education, careers, and leadership. And then finally, 3, encouraging and supporting the role of women in innovation system and entrepreneurial development. The factors that explain why many fewer women than the world needs to go into STEM are many. In fact, to a large extent, the gender gap in science reflects the problem of career building which women face in all areas, not just in science. Some important are access to and quality of education, job markets, opportunities, stereotype, lack of role model, mentorship and sponsorship, workplace culture, and work-life balance issues. Therefore, the gender dimension of science and technology is an integral part of our program of work on STI. Our research in the field of STI policy is exploring how women can benefit from the globalization of science by fulfilling international collaboration opportunity like this one. we are a partner with several other agencies to try to also, including our colleague here, WIPO and ITU at this to fill the digital gap that we see happening between women and men, but also between rural and urban areas. Therefore, we are committed to chart a way forward in supporting inclusive and sustainable development that fully take into account the need of women, men, girls, and boys, and ensure that the talents and all of are able to contribute the fullest of their talent and ability. I thank you all, and I look forward to the recommendation coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Chantaline. Now